The Orlando Magic have started bringing players in for workouts. Only one real first round prospect, at least that we know of, has come in. What do we know about Kyle Filipowski and why centers probably aren't the answer? It's a Draft Tuesday here on Locked On Magic.
You are Locked On Magic, your daily Orlando Magic podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
And you are indeed Locked On Magic. Today is June 11th, 2024. My name is Philip Rossman-Reich. I'm the senior writer over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Of course, follow me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMD. On today's episode of Locked On Magic, it's a Draft Tuesday, so we're going to talk about Kyle Filipowski. We do know that he has come to Orlando for a workout, a group workout. What does he bring to the table and why he might be the answer for the Magic at center, or what the Magic see in him perhaps, or why the Magic shouldn't bother with any of the centers in this year's draft. We'll get to that, plus some second round options coming up here in just a moment. But first, we want to thank you again for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day, no matter when you listen to us, whether it's first thing in the morning, whether it's right when we upload. We truly appreciate you making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Remember, there's a great Locked On podcast covering every single team in the NBA. Just search for Locked On and the team you're looking for, the Locked On Podcast Network. It's your team every day. Today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by FanDuel. Make every moment more. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. Visit FanDuel.com/LockedOn to get started today. So the Orlando Magic like to work in secret. They like to be pretty quiet when it comes to draft stuff. And look, I'm not going to sit here and say that that's the right or the wrong thing to do. It works for them. They don't have an obligation to tell us who's coming into town. Some teams do, some teams don't. Some teams publicize who's coming into town, even if they're not made available. It's all subterfuge. Everyone's lying this time of year. I'm not going to be upset over the way the Magic conduct their draft. It's worked for them. It's their process. Let them have it. There's no secret sauce there. There's no there. It's just the way they operate, and we're cool with that. Obviously, picking 18th, you got a little bit of a wider field. You got to look at a bunch of different players. And we've talked about a few players here on the show. You can go back to all of our episodes. We've been doing draft stuff mostly on Tuesdays, but draft episodes are usually pretty well marked. If you're looking to get more draft stuff, we got 2 weeks to go until the NBA draft. We do know, however, of one first-round prospect that has been to Orlando. Our friend Cody Taylor from the Rookie Wire reports that Duke big man Kyle Filipowski was among a pre-draft workout that took place on June 5th. So last week, last Thursday, I think is June 5th. It happened last week. And the Magic have had at least 2 of these group workouts so far. I imagine, they visited with a bunch of players at the Combine. I imagine they are visiting with some players elsewhere. I have seen some reports that Tristan Da Silva was in Orlando, but I haven't seen that confirmed anywhere. So players are coming in and out of the Advent Health Training Center. Again, I say this all the time. Do not take a lack of reporting for a lack of action. Just because you're not hearing what the Magic are doing does not mean they are not doing something. But obviously, a lot of our attention is on the first-round pick. And a lot of the guys that they brought in are second-round players. We'll talk about a few of them here, at least among the players that are confirmed to have come in. There's 2 in particular that I'm interested, that I want to especially point out, and another one I think is worth talking about as well. But Kyle Filipowski is undoubtedly the biggest name of that group. Filipowski, a sophomore from Duke, averaged 16.4 points per game, 8.3 rebounds per game last year. Very skilled big man. He is, I think he's got a really solid and fundamental post game. But he is very comfortable operating on the perimeter as well, not attacking from the perimeter, but he will make passes. He is getting more comfortable shooting threes. He shot 34.8% on 3.1 3-point attempts per game. He is widely considered a very athletic and versatile big man. I've seen people list him as a power forward. My review of him would say that he is a center. And so that, to me, limits him a little bit. because I just don't think he's a good enough shooter to be a power forward. He's excellent on the low block, excellent footwork, just great fundamentals, the stuff you kind of expect from Duke players. But Filipowski does not necessarily check all the boxes that the Magic like. We do the wingspan thing here. It is a joke. He is a negative wingspan, 6'10.75" inches tall without shoes, 6'10.5" wingspan. So not the kind of big, super athletic, he has athletic, but not sort of above the rim athleticism, not someone who's going to go in and erase a bunch of shots. To me, honestly, and we're going to talk about the center options here in a minute. To me, I have, as skilled as Filipowski is, that's not what I'm looking for in a center, or particularly for what the Magic needed center. Again, Filipowski, I think the comparisons I've seen to him are kind of your really solid, like 10-year veteran centers who just kind of scratch out a place in the league because everywhere they go, they just kind of do their job, but they don't necessarily take over the center spot. And again, this is just kind of the comparisons you see, like Mason Plumlee, a potential free agent target for the Magic, actually, on the low end. Players like that, Zach Collins, I've seen him compared to Zach Collins, who's, I think, a little bit better of a shooter. These are NBA players. Like, these guys can play in the league. They can contribute in the league, but they're not starters. And that's fine. It's okay if you're not a starter in the league. You're drafting 18th. You're not expecting to get a starter. But I would say Filipowski is a very high floor, low ceiling player. And look, that may be what the Magic are looking for. The Magic don't need to hit a home run with this draft pick. They need, if they're going to use this pick, they need it on someone that's going to contribute to them either now or in the very near future. If they're going to pick up a guy like Filipowski is not someone you send to the G League and let ruminate. He's not Keshawn George. He's not even Killel Ware or Yves Missy, who we'll talk about here in a minute. Kyle Filipowski is someone that you expect to bring in and contribute fairly quickly. And I think he can. Look, I think he's very, very skilled. I think that he can score. I think he can figure things out. He can figure out a way to fit into any offense. He is a very solid player, but I don't think he is someone that you want to bank too much of your future on. I don't think he is someone that can rise to the level of a starter, not in the way that Killel Ware can. Killel Ware from Indiana, very athletic, big, 7'2" guy, so much bigger, great rim protector, great shot blocker, gobbles up rebounds, is not nearly as polished offensively, but has shown a willingness to shoot threes and is a much better jump shooter, I think, than Kyle Filipowski. Yves Missy is in that same boat. Yves Missy is much rawer than all three of these prospects. I have to rate the center prospects in the Magic's range. I would go Killel Ware first, Yves Missy second, and Kyle Filipowski third. And a lot of that's just about rim protection. We know what this Magic team needs. This Magic team needs rim protection. They need someone who's going to fly in and block a shot. That is what Goga Bitadze gave them. It was proof of concept that a rim protector, a paint protector, would be key. Filipowski is further along offensively than he is defensively. And I know the Magic needs some offense, but not necessarily from the center spot. Now, obviously, both Missy and Ware have their own concerns. Missy is extremely raw, someone who just kind of relies on his athleticism and is just kind of flying all over the place, a little bit undisciplined in that sense. Ware comes into the league with a ton of questions about his motor. And I know that's going to scare a lot of Magic fans after the Mo Bamba experience. Ware is a lot more active than Bamba was in college. But there are a lot of questions about, okay, is Killel Ware, is he a hard worker? Is he someone that's going to kind of bring it and elevate his game once he gets to the NBA, or is he going to be happy being there? And I've seen draft experts be very high on him on that regard and say, no, he's got it figured out. Mike Woodson did a good job. I've seen Indiana fans jump in the comments here and vouch for Killel Ware. And I've seen some draft people say, like, that's just not something you learn how to, that's not something, you either have that or you don't. And that Ware still has some of those questions, and that Ware sometimes disappears in games. And some of that might be just bad guard play at Indiana. That is a concern for him overall. These are all the things that you suss out during the interview process. I do hope the Magic bring Killel Ware in. I do hope that they do their due diligence on him, as they should be doing their due diligence on every player. It's just you're building your profile for your scout teams, for your NBA scout personnel files moving forward. All this information is valuable, especially as you begin to think about trades down the line. So to me, I would not spend the draft pick on Kyle Filipowski. I don't think he is a Magic type player. I don't think he fits the needs that the Magic are looking for. And frankly, I don't think any of the centers in this draft are going to do that. And I'm going to explain why here in a minute, why center isn't the path for the Orlando Magic in this draft class. We're going to get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, it's time for a quick word for our friends over at FanDuel. It is summer. It certainly feels that way outside. My thermometer in my car hit 100 degrees. That's painful. So summertime means baseball, the NBA Finals, and more. And you can bet it all on FanDuel. Right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets with any winning $5 bet. That's $200 you can use to bet on everything from the Finals MVP to who's going to hit one out of the park in your favorite baseball game. Obviously, the NBA Finals going on right now, and there is a lot to get to still in the NBA. Dallas, 1.5-point favorites for Game 3. Will the Mavericks be able to make a 2-1 series? FanDuel is certainly favoring them to do so. You can also check out your Finals MVP award odds. Jason Tatum plus 140, Jaylen Brown 150. I'm actually kind of laying into Drew Holiday at plus 600. I kind of like that. He's been really good this series. So visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and add a big win to your summer bucket list. FanDuel is America's #1 sportsbook. We want to thank you for making Locked On Magic part of your day every day. Now go check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 stream channel, at least after you're done listening to us. We all want the best analysis from local experts who know their team best. The national people tend to jump in. They're not really super informed. Just look at the debate about Caitlin Clark right now, and nobody wants that noise anyway. Get the experts who know their teams and know their leagues the best. The Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel brings you can't-miss analysis, opinions, and news, streaming 24/7 on YouTube or the free Amazon Fire TV channels app. It's the best of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. So yesterday we dove a little bit into what is the Magic's ideal summer? You know, what do the Magic have to accomplish this year? And I am very adamant that one of the things the Magic have to add and have to invest some money in is a third center. I'm going to sound like a broken record because I sounded this alarm all year last year. Wendell Carter has played 60 games in the season just once in his career. Last year, he hit 55 games. He hit 57, I believe, the year before. At this juncture, we've had enough information now. The Magic have to plan on Wendell Carter missing 15 to 20 games. And so we talked about this earlier, that maybe the move for the Magic this summer is to trade Wendell Carter for a guard and go after Isaiah Hartenstein. You know, pony up the 4 years, $100 million. It sounds like Oklahoma City, at least some Thunder fans, don't want them to give him more than a 2-year deal. They got the money to spend on him. So there's a little bit of competition. The market's going to drive his price up. There's not many quality centers in this draft or in this free agent class. Nick Claxton is expected to stay in Brooklyn. Isaiah Hartenstein's going to get paid. And the question is whether that's worth it or not or whatever. But regardless of what the Magic ultimately decide to do, and I think Wendell Carter is a second-order problem. I don't think it's immediate. You know, we know what he is. He had an injury this season. Hopefully he bounces back. Hopefully he has a healthy season and changes everything. The Magic still need to find a center. And Mo Wagner is really solid, but I like him in that backup role. He's not strong enough defensively, I think, to hold that role. And so to me, either the Magic need to re-sign Goga Bitadze, which I think is very possible that they do. I was looking at the list of available centers in this year's free agent class, and it is not strong. Like, you know, there's only two like full-time starting caliber centers, Isaiah Hartenstein and Nick Claxton. There's Jonas Valanciunas, who I don't see him as a viable starting option for this Magic team. I don't think he's coming off the bench quite yet in his career, unless he has to. Then you're getting to the guy that I think the Magic will end up chasing, Andre Drummond. You get him on a 1 year, $5 million deal, whatever. Daniel Theis, Mason Plumlee, like I talked about, and then Goga Bitadze. So would not surprise me if the Magic bring Goga Bitadze back this season. And that's kind of your answer at the third center. It's a guy you trust. You know what he can do. He's comfortable. He's played the role that you want him to play. That might be the answer. Either a 1-year deal, 2-year deal, whatever, if a team option, whatever it is, that option's still very much on the table. What I don't think the Magic should do, though, is spend their draft pick to fill this spot. And it's because we know this player has to play. The Magic needs someone in that center spot that they are comfortable playing on opening night. Because you just, I hate to say this about Wendell Carter. At this point, you have to plan on him missing games. You have to plan on him being out for a 20-game stretch somewhere in the season. He will miss a month. He will miss 2 weeks somewhere. That's just the fact of his career at this point. And frankly, there are no centers available where the Magic are picking their outside of Donovan Clingan, who's going to go like 3rd or 4th in this draft. There are no centers that I trust to fill that role. I do not believe Yves Missi can step in and start right away. I do not, if the Magic had to rely on Yves Missi from Baylor to start for 2 weeks, that's going to be a rough 2 weeks. They're not winning 9 in a row with Yves Missi as their starting center. If the Magic have to bring Kel'el Ware in, you bet, Kel'el Ware, I think, might be able to do it. I think he is talented enough to do it. But you better know about those issues. You better be comfortable with those issues. You better have your fears assuaged, because I don't think he is ready to start day one. And look, you're drafting 18th. You shouldn't be expecting, there's only so many Courtney Lees out there in the world. You shouldn't be expecting this player to start day one. But the Magic need a third center who can do that, who is capable of doing that. And honestly, that's why I think it's Goga Bitadze or Andre Drummond. Like, don't call me. I don't think I'm being crazy. Bring Andre Drummond on a 1-year, $5 million deal if that's what it costs, or 1 year, bring him on the vet minimum. Like, I don't think that's crazy either. You're getting good defense. You're getting rebounding, sets good screens, plays above the rim. That's the kind of veteran that you want in that spot if he's willing to take on that role and know that his minutes might be a little inconsistent. You're probably going to pay a premium for that. But this is the issue. Is Kyle Filipowski ready to start at center? A lot of people don't consider him a center. I think that's a little off. But he's not the kind of center that I think the Magic are looking for in that spot. Yves Missi and Kel'el Ware are closer, but are they ready to play meaningful minutes? Yves Missi is going to need a lot of time in the G League. That guy is raw as all heck. He is very raw, and there's potential there. Don't get me wrong. But the Magic are in the winning business. We're done with the development stuff. There are areas where the Magic can afford to send guys to the G League and let them germinate for a year and use that as a developmental tool. Especially on the wing. They got Jett Howard. They got Caleb Houston. They're probably going to sign another wing somewhere, in my opinion. They can't do that at center. That center spot is too precarious. And yeah, maybe they could run Jonathan Isaac at center a little bit. I'm still not a huge fan of that idea. But the draft is not the answer at center for this Orlando Magic team. And so, yeah, you got to work out the centers. You got to look at them all. I'm not upset about that at all. But it's not the answer. As I'm preparing for the Locked On mock draft, as I'm preparing on my draft prep for what I think that is going to happen during the draft, I'm looking at the wings. I'm honestly not looking too hard at the centers, because I just don't think they answer. They might answer some long-term questions. I'm not going to pretend otherwise, but the Magic need a short-term and a long-term answer to get where they want to go. The Orlando Magic don't just have the 18th pick in the draft. We'll talk about what they're looking for in the second round. Because there's been a couple of interesting players who've come through that I think are worth discussing. We'll get to that coming up here in just a moment. But first, today's episode of Locked On Magic is brought to you by our friends over at BetterHelp. Look, we all need the opportunity to get things off our chest. We all carry around different stressors, big and small, and bottling them up isn't going to get the job done. Bottling them up is only going to make you feel worse. Eventually, that bottle pops. That's what they do. You know, put a lid on something, the steam bubbles up. It just doesn't work out. So when this happens, it starts to affect us negatively. We want to turn our negative emotions into positives, learn from them, get empathy for them, feel them in an accepting and light manner. That's what therapy does. It is a safe space to get things off your chest and figure out how to work through whatever is weighing you down. I have done therapy at several points in my life. It has been extremely helpful to just kind of manage the stresses of everyday life, career, making big career decisions, personal issues. Therapy helps you with everything and find some inner peace. That's all what we're really looking for. If you're thinking of starting therapy, give BetterHelp a try. It's entirely online, designed to be convenient, flexible, and suited to your schedule. Just fill out a brief questionnaire to get matched with a licensed therapist and switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. Get it off your chest with BetterHelp. Visit BetterHelp.com/LockedOnNBA today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/LockedOnNBA. Obviously, when we talk about draft workouts, there's only so many guys that are first-round prospects. There's only so many guys that are taken in the first round. And look, a lot of us are working off kind of the same draft boards. Great credit to our friends at Locked On NBA Big Board. If you're not listening to them, they just completed their mock draft. I believe today's episode, June 11th, I believe they did part 3 of their mock draft, of their latest mock draft. Magic's pick, I believe, in this part. If not, they're doing it tomorrow. So definitely check that out. I've been listening to it as well. We're all kind of working off some of the same boards and getting a sense of where guys are at. But there's still only so many players you're looking at in the first round. And the pool, again, is a little bit wider when you're drafting at 18. It's a little bit bigger, the player pool. The second round is obviously even bigger. And the Magic have had a few interesting players come through in the second round. I want to highlight one position group especially. Again, our friend Cody Taylor of the Rookie Wire reporting that last week, the Magic had 2 interesting point guards come through. Now, let's start here. A lot of the players, especially second-round players that I've seen on these lists are ace defenders. In that group of bigs that came through, Oso Ighodaro of Marquette does not shoot at a lick. Did not take a single three-point attempt in college. Excellent defender. All Big East defensive team player. Really, really strong defender. 6'10", 6'9", 6'10 type player. Again, kind of player the Magic really like. I believe he had I believe his wingspan was really high. 6'9.5" without shoes, 6'10", 6'11" wingspan. Like, that's the kind of stuff the Magic like. Averaged 13.4 points per game, 6.9 rebounds per game last year as a senior. Highly, highly skilled defensive player. The two players, though, I want to point out, because I think this is something the Magic will address through the draft. That kind of backup point guard. Now, the Magic have some point guards. They're going to have Jalen Suggs. They're going to have Anthony Black. They're going to have Cole Anthony. They're going to have probably someone they add in free agency to play point guard. So they don't necessarily need a point guard. But I think having a backup to Anthony Black and having someone that you can push in the G League a little bit would be really strong. And so there's 2 players worth noting on this list. The first is Colorado guard KJ Simpson. I am beginning to believe, because so many people are kind of hyping up KJ Simpson, that there is a chance that he's going to be gone well before the Magic draft. I believe their second round pick is 47, 48, somewhere in there. Simpson's on the small side, which is probably why he's a second-round prospect instead of a first-round prospect. But he is excellent. 19.7 points per game, 5.8 rebounds per game last year, 4.9 assists per game. This is playing alongside 2 likely first-round picks in Cody Williams and Tristan Da Silva. Shot 43.4% from 3 on 4.9 3-point attempts per game. Career 83.4% free throw shooter in 3 seasons at Colorado. So it's a very, very good shooter. He's just on the small side, just 6 foot, just small, height-wise, but he plays big. Play makes, hits from the outside, defends really well for his position, is a veteran who can step in pretty quickly if you needed to do it, if you needed him to. I think Simpson will be gone by the time the Magic pick in the second round. That might be someone to trade up for in the second round to make sure you get, if you're looking to use your second round pick, which Jeff Weltman doesn't always do. This is a guy I think you would target. This is a guy I think that you would make a point to go get. He plays really tough. I really like the way this kid plays. And obviously he's got some scoring knack, mixes it up in the paint, can shoot it a little bit too. I think that's a really big thing for the Magic. The other guard that came in with that group last week, Jamal Sheed, Houston guard. So, you're coming from Houston, you're coming from the Kelvin Sampson program. You're a good defender. And Sheed was one of the best. Sheed was probably the best defensive point guard in the entire NCAA last year. I watched him play when Houston came to UCF last year. Houston was by far the best team that we saw in Orlando at UCF in the Big 12 last year. I thought he and Houston were just super duper impressive. Again, on the small side, that's why he's in the second round. 6'0.25" height with 6'3" wingspan, 12.9 points per game, 6.3 assists per game. But he is known for his defense. He plays really hard defensively. That effort and intensity and discipline is there. You're getting it from a Kelvin Sampson coach team. That they're all about their defense, and that's everything that's about them. So when we're looking at the second round, I am looking at that point guard spot. I think if you're going to use the second round pick, get a quality player, obviously. Get the best player you can. But I really do like either of these guards. I think they fit what the Magic want. They're a little on the small side. Give them a year in the G League to keep improving their offense. I don't think they need it. They're both veteran players who know what they're doing. They're going to squeeze in defensively, and whenever you need them, they're going to play hard. Essentially, like what the Magic are probably looking for in the second round pick is someone to replace Kevon Harris. I've kind of been, if you listen to yesterday's episode, I kind of got into this notion of, okay, like these are the chess pieces we're losing. How do we replace those minutes and improve on those players? Like more importantly, we like Chuma Okeke. Chuma Okeke struggled with injuries, bench guy. If you're going to have a bench guy, make that player better. If it's Jet Howard, I don't know if he's better than Chuma Okeke, but at least the potential is there for him to be better. And then you're filling in with a wing to fill in that spot left open by Joe Ingles. Essentially what I'm saying here is you're bringing in someone to play the Anthony Black minutes. You needed Anthony Black at a key point in the season. You're still going to need someone you can trust. Now, again, so much of this is going to depend on what the Magic want to do in free agency. And we cannot pretend. The draft is June 26th. Free agency opens June 30th. We cannot pretend the Orlando Magic are not going into the draft already knowing what they're going to do in free agency or what's possible in free agency, what bets they can make or what they need to cover themselves because of what's going to happen in free agency. We cannot pretend otherwise. It might technically be tampering, but it's not. That's business. That's how this world works. I joke about this all the time. NBA front offices are mini intelligence agencies. They know because they've done the research, because they've talked to the back channels. They've worked off the record. This is how every front office works. It's not crazy. The Magic will know by draft night what they're probably doing Sunday evening. That's how this is going to work. And so whatever the Magic need to fill, that's what they're going to grab in the second round. And so I like Simpson. I like Sheed. I'm even cool with Iguodala. Like he's a really talented player. I think he would need some time. He's he's not a young player by any means. But he's got a long way to go with his offense. The Magic are going to have to find, kind of those this is the problem with the draft coming first before free agency is now you have to figure out, okay, what do we need to find in the draft to complete our roster before we've actually done the work of building out our roster. But there are options out there. And while this is not the strongest draft, and I think every prospect that you're grabbing is going to come with some questions, and you hope your development program and the personalities mesh well enough that you can, get over that. There are still good options in this draft. There are still players to grab. And so that's kind of where we're at with this. And that's kind of where we're going to leave it for now. I want to thank you all again for listening for today's episode. I'm going to thank you all again for listening to today's episode of Locked On Magic. Of course, find me on Twitter at PhilipRR_OMG. Subscribe to the podcast and Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, TuneIn, Himalaya, Google Play, Spotify, Odyssey, and all the podcasts to your podcast enabling device. You, of course, find us on YouTube as well. Just search for Locked On Magic. I want to thank everybody. We officially hit 3,000 subscribers. Happy to see the subscription base grow. If you have not subscribed to Locked On Magic on YouTube, please go ahead and do so. It helps us out a ton. And you can see my smiling face if you want to. I don't know if you do. Maybe you're just driving in the car. That's all good. That's all good too. It helps us out either way. But I want to thank everyone who subscribed, whether it's audio or video. Appreciate everybody out there. You can, of course, find the latest on the Orlando Magic over at OrlandoMagicDaily.com. Follow us there on Twitter at OMagicDaily. And for even more Orlando Magic content, including my player evaluation series, I hit Cole Anthony yesterday. Check out my Patreon page, the Orlando Magic Hub, at patreon.com/Orlando Magic Hub. And as always, thank you for your support. Now that you're done listening to us, be sure to check out the Locked On Sports Today 24/7 streaming channel on YouTube, and now available on Amazon Fire TV in the free Fire TV channels app. Locked On Sports Today is here for you 24/7, covering the top sports stories of the day with the local experts of Locked On, plus our national shows covering every league. Find Locked On Sports Today now available on the free Fire TV channels app. On tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic, we're going to talk about Franz Wagner's season, what went right, what went wrong, and what has to happen next for Franz Wagner to be the player we all think he can be. The questions left unanswered. We'll talk all about Franz Wagner on tomorrow's episode of Locked On Magic. But until then, for Orlando Magic Daily and Locked On Magic, this has been Phil Rossman-Reich. We'll see you all again next time for another episode of Locked On Magic.